Welcome back to the off cycle. Today we're going to be working on, I think, getting this tank in here. Going to get the inside of this boat washed out a little bit. There's just a bunch of junk in it from stuff sitting in here and dirty. So I'm going to get this boat rinsed out, have a clean surface and everything to work with. And then we're going to work on getting the fuel tank up in here and figure out how I'm going to secure it and show you how I'm going to put the fuel tank in there so it actually has drainage this time, unlike it didn't have any drainage from the factory. So as you can see, the boat's pretty dirty just from all this stuff sitting up in here, and a lot of the foam had clogged that back corner, so it wasn't draining right. So I had some water standing in there. It was draining very slow, so it's fairly dirty. I did get some gel coat. I wanted to go ahead. I thought about gel coating this whole interior, but since now it has gonna have really good drainage, I'm not too worried about it. And it didn't seem to affect anything, even though it was sitting in here, moisture sitting here a long time. But I did want to go ahead and do a couple layers, put some nice thick gel coat on the transition where I tabbed in and glassed in the new bulkheads, and then gel coat up the bulkheads a decent amount. The back one I've done a little bit higher, but it is gel coated on the front and the back. And where I had to grind out, the whole back bilge was gel coated from the factory. You can see back there. But since I had to grind that out to tab in, I wanted to go ahead and put new gel coat over top of that. So I did that. I just mixed up some white and did it kind of on one pass, gooped it on there, and two different coats. Coated it, let it get tacky, mix up a little bit more, and I put it on there again before it's set. So it came out pretty well. I did the same on the front. Tried to do the front nice and thick here at the base where all this tabbing was, just to help prevent any water from creeping up underneath there and absorbing into that tabbing and getting to the wood. Just basically an additional barrier keeping moisture out of the new wood bulkheads. And they're fully glassed, unlike they were from the factory. I got all my scrap pieces I used just as extra. But that's where we're at right now. I do have some rubber mats, perforated rubber mats that are going to go in here, and the tank is going to sit on those. So I'm going to get this boat sprayed out and then figure out how I'm going to cut these mats and lay these mats and see what the best direction, best route to go is about keeping the tank off the floor so it can moisture can drain from front to back underneath it and get out from underneath it. Got the boat sprayed out and I can work now without feeling gross. A couple things here. I think that was my tile cutting disc that I guess I got left there during the rain and stuff, so it left a rust stain. I know a lot of people in the boat industry know about oxalic acid to get the rust stains off without scrubbing or nothing, but this is what I've been using for a long time. I get it at Home Depot. It's called Rust Aid. It's usually either, depending on Home Depot, it's usually either in the outdoor stuff, like outdoor patio stuff, or it's actually over by the paint stripper. It's not really with the cleaning products. It's either outside or with the paint stripper. So it's about $12 for a gallon or something like that. But it just has oxalic acid and hydrofluoric acid in it. And oxalic acid is really the main ingredient. It's best if you can pour this stuff on dry. I usually just put it in a spray bottle, and it's good for rust. And if you use your boat in a lake or a river or something like that feeds from a swamp or has that tannic acid in it, so if it's that brown or like orangey water, it also removes the tannic acid really well too. So I normally just spray this on. Let me get over here so you can have the shadow. Normally just spray it on, but if you dump it on, you'll see it takes it out really well. We just let that kind of sit on there and eat. But again, the boat is wet, so it's kind of, as soon as it goes on, it is diluting it basically. But normally it'll take it out like almost instantly. You can already see it kind of fading. But if you just let that work, that will take that rust stain out to pretty much non-existent.
as you see.
It's almost gone. It will go away all the way, but I'll cut the video for the sake of time. But after that, the sun will bleach out anything else that's pretty much left. You see the stuff that was behind it, that the oxalic acid rolled over, that's already gone. So these are the perforated anti-fatigue mats that I bought, that I plan on cutting up and putting below the tank for the tank to rest on. That way any vibration or anything is not wearing through the tank or into the fiberglass of the boat, because while this tank, at this point I think I am going to foam it back in, but not in the sense that it was foamed in from the factory. It's not going to have foam underneath it. It's just going to have spots of foam on the sides and in the front and the back, just to keep it mostly from shifting. It's not going to be fully foamed in like it was from the factory, so it'll still be able to drain, and especially underneath with the new bulkhead design with those large openings in the bulkhead, and then these perforated mats underneath it. Any moisture in that tank area will be able to get out, unlike the factory design. It's not just going to be a big sponge in a closed compartment around the tank. So this is what I plan on doing. I'm about to start cutting these up, but before I do that, I'm going to lay at least one of these in there towards the back and start spraying water in the front of the boat. I just want to see how well water runs underneath and through this mat. It is like hollow underneath, so it should let a decent amount of water run underneath there, but I just want to see how well water drains through it before I totally decide to go this way. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do one layer of this or 2 layers of this. I think one layer will be just fine, but I'm not exactly sure yet. I think I'm going to try to keep the center part of the area where the gas tank sits. I'm going to try to keep a gap, much like we have going on right there, so water can go right to the center and just run clean out instead of having the mats pushed together in the middle. So I'm going to try to leave a little bit of a channel there. My only concern is, over time, will it shift and move its way down? So I'm not sure how I'm gonna deal with that, but that's what we're gonna be looking into today and figuring out. All right, I've got my mat in there, kind of towards the front. I'm just gonna start pumping water up here and just kind of watch how it flows through, and get an idea of how well water is gonna be able to get past this mat. And it's damming up a little bit, but it looks like it pretty much is flowing through it pretty well. So not really any issues. So what I think I'll do is go ahead and cut these and have it just laying on the sides and try to leave a gap. But over time, if they were to work themselves towards the middle, it's not going to be a huge deal. It's still draining out plenty quickly. All right, so I've got my matting cut. This is kind of how I want to lay it in there. So it has a nice clean path directly underneath it. That way any little bit of debris has the ability to get out. Leaves or any little thing like that has a better chance of getting out than obviously just having to travel through all the perforations of this. Obviously, if it got filled up enough, it'd be able to break free and go around the outside. But the whole idea is not to have it ever get that deep in there. My only concerns is, like, once this thing is weighted, it should be fine. But anytime there's a bump or anything, this stuff is going to want to kind of slide down towards the middle. So I really don't want to do any more fiberglass work as far as like making some fiberglass little dams or little kind of protrusions here to keep this up. So I have this really sticky, like Gorilla peel and stick tape. Where you got to peel this. This stuff is super sticky. So I'm wondering if I should just tape these to the bottom of the tank itself. But then I thought, if I do that, any water that gets underneath there and then runs this direction towards the middle is going to get up underneath the tape, and it's over time it's gonna come apart. So I also thought about rolling some of this so it's just a really sticky roll and putting it along here, and I think over time this will kind of just adhere. The other thing I thought about doing is like maybe some contact adhesive. I think that would work fairly well. I just don't know if I want to go putting sticky stuff all over the bottom of something I want to drain well. It might grab dirt and all that. I guess once it dries it would be okay. And then of course the other thing, as far as like maybe just silicone it or something. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to go about this. I got to think about it some more and see what I'm going to do. But I also need to dry this whole thing out if I'm going to put anything sticky. So I'm going to pull these back out and get a towel out here and just fully dry this thing out and think a little more about how I'm going to do this. All right, so I thought about it a little bit and I just went ahead and decided just to use that really thick, sticky, it's like almost a 1/16 inch thick layer of sticky adhesive. It's really good stuff to just stick these up there. I really think it's kind of going to be temporary anyway. I think the weight of that tank, with all the surface area gripping on the tank, and as that tank rests down and conforms to this mat and this rubber mat over time, just conforms to the tank, I don't think it's going to slide down. But I imagine that stuff is going to hold for quite a while and give the tank time to conform to all this stuff. I felt like anything that I put on the bottom of the mat just really wasn't going to be that effective, and I didn't want to coat everything in sticky stuff and have debris and sand and everything sticking to it and just damming things up. Because the bottom of this mat, if you look at it like from the edge, it's like it doesn't actually sit flat, it sits kind of off to allow the water to go underneath it. So if I put any kind of contact adhesive, just these tiny little points would be the only thing that's actually touching, but I'd have to coat the whole bottom of the fuel cell area in that stickiness. So I decided against that, and we're just going to try this. Worst case scenario, it slides down and they touch, and that's it. It's still going to drain water. I'm just trying to do this so any bit of debris has a direct path out. So I was going to bring the tank up in here and set the tank in here and start getting the tank installed, but I'm holding off on that because I am waiting for new fuel fill hose for the new tank. I'm replacing the fuel fill and the vent hose as well. I have the vent hose already, but I'm replacing the fuel fill hose. I ended up ordering that from a vendor on eBay for like $10 or $10.99 a foot, something like that. It is the same rated fuel fill hose as this stuff. I looked around locally. I think it cost me like $94 or $84, $85 for 7 feet of it. I need 6.5, so I ordered 7 feet of it, and through the eBay vendor, it was $85. I checked, and West Marine wanted $36 a foot for this stuff, and it was going to be like $252, something like that. Just outrageous, which is why I refuse to shop at West Marine for anything. Can't not recommend West Marine more. Definitely don't shop there if you don't absolutely have to. It's an absolute ripoff. So I think today I'm going to be done with this boat, and I'm going to switch over and start working more on my new boat that I bought that y'all don't know about yet, and I'll go show you that now. So if you've been watching my channel or came here from the Pursuit videos, you may have seen my vintage runabout restoration I did. Well, I ended up selling that boat a few days ago, and then the same night I picked this boat up. I had been taking my runabout, my vintage runabout, out several times in the St. Johns River and did a little bit of fishing off of it, and just kind of decided, you know what, I want to get back into inshore fishing, and I need a boat that's a little more capable of doing that, as opposed to that runabout. Just wasn't the greatest for that kind of thing. Nowhere to mount a trolling motor or anything like that. Not that I would even want to do that on that nice vintage hull. But ended up selling that. I found this and picked this up. This is a 2004 SeaPro 15 SV 1500. And I've had 2 of these boats in the 17-foot version, which I've loved. The first one had the stock 90 horse Yamaha on it, and then the second one came with like a 75 horse Mercury 4-stroke. It was repowered, and it wasn't even enough motor for that boat, so I repowered that boat with a 115 Optimax, which is an amazing pairing. If you've got a 17-foot version of this boat, put a 115 Optimax on it. It is incredible. It's incredibly good on fuel, and the performance is absolutely amazing. So for now, I'll be dealing with the 60 horse Yamaha. I may upgrade that to a 90. If I could find a 90 horse Optimax, that would be awesome. Or maybe a 75 horse or a 90 horse 2-stroke. Maybe swap it out with that. But I've already gone over, this boat was really oxidized. It was not cared for at all. I'll slip some pictures in of when I got it. Super dirty. But yesterday evening, I spent some time going from 800 grit down to 1,000 grit on a lot of the gel coat area. This side over here, I got to finish up with 1,000 grit, but everything over here has been done with the 800, then 1,000 grit, and then I just did a test on the back edge, just a test polish with some of this marine polish in my buffer, and it's coming out really well. So this boat's going to clean up well. It's going to get this steering cable removed. It's slightly bent and it binds when it's pulled all the way in. So that's going to come out. I've ordered the Viva, or whatever the hell it's called, hydraulic steering kit. It was like 350 bucks shipped directly from them. So it's going to get hydraulic steering. All these gauges are going to go away. I got a new tack and a new fuel gauge, and then this whole dash panel will be pulled off, and I'll go get a piece of like 1/4-inch aluminum and make a whole new dash panel. And it's just going to have a new tack and a fuel gauge. All the switches are going to go away from the dash, and this radio right here will be removed, and I will make a panel where that radio is, and all the switches will be down there just to kind of clean up the dash, clean everything up. I'll replace these rod holders here with some stainless ones, and remove some of the stickers and just give it a nice buff. And it's got 2 brand new deep cycle batteries that came with it for the trolling motor. Don't really need a 24 volt 70 pound trolling motor for this boat. A 12 volt would have been just fine, but since I have it, I'll just leave it at that. And then the windshield was cracked. I don't know if I'll get another one made. My last boat, I never even bothered to get another one made. I don't know what it is about it. Seems to be every boat that I buy, the windshield's busted. This is the 3rd boat I've bought now with the busted windshield, but overall it's not in too bad shape. It's just really not been cared for. I've got some gel coat nicks that I have to take care of. You can tell somebody doesn't know what they're doing when they put marine tex on gel coat nicks instead of just re-gel coating it. But this side's the worst. I don't know if it was up next to a dock or something, big glob of marine tex here. So just some cosmetic stuff. This is the worst side for that, big spider crack. So, but other than that, just really needs to be buffed out, cleaned up. The bottom's good, the trailer's good. Replace a couple of the bunk brackets, but this is going to be the new inshore boat, something cheap to operate and let me get back in a little bit shallower water and fish the river and catch some reds and trout and flounder and all that kind of thing. And sheepshead, that's the one thing I've been wanting to target lately, a lot of sheepshead.